What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 22 of Books and Bourbon. I missed the opportunity. I was thinking about it right before this to cue the show up with the Taylor Swift's 22 song. I missed that golden opportunity there. But today I'm joined by Dave Chung, and Caleb is actually not going to be joining us today because he is flying right now to one of our developers' weddings overseas right now. So he gets the chance to go out there and be with him in person and celebrate with him. So we're jealous of that. So he's not with us today, but we've got a great guest and some good things in store for you guys. So how are you doing, David?
I'm pretty good, man. It's nice and cool here in Denver today, and so loving the weather.
It's nice and cool here too. It's only like 94 today, which is extremely cool, I think, for this time of year in Arizona. Before we get too far into it, I'll just introduce our guest. We'll bring in Steve. So Steve Raiken is our guest today. You guys probably know him as Raiken Profits on YouTube. As far as reselling and Amazon goes, Steve is a celebrity in the space. Over 189,000 subscribers on YouTube now. We've known Steve for a long time. He's actually one of the first YouTubers we kind of did collaborations with back in the day for eFlip and Scout IQ, and he was a tremendous help for us. And so Steve, thank you for joining Books and Bourbon for episode 22. I'm glad we finally got you on here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. And I love both of you guys. You guys are awesome. So anytime I can spend some time with, some resellers who are smarter than me, I'm happy.
That's a stretch. Dave, maybe. But yeah, that's a stretch.
I was going to say, that was my line, Steve. I'm sitting here with two resellers smarter than me. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to be here. I've been watching the show for a while. I don't have any bourbon right now, but I'll tell you right now, I'm pumped up for this one. So thanks again for having me on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we always say this is a show a lot about books and very little about bourbon. But what are you guys drinking today? David, do you have your normal coffee you've got in front of you, or what do you got today?
Yeah, back on the coffee train. It's just cold coffee now. It's been sitting on my desk for a couple hours, but yeah.
What's your normal drink of choice throughout the day, Steve?
I love coffee, but about a couple weeks ago, I made the decision that I got to cap myself at 2 cups of coffee, and then I switch over to the lemon honey green tea, and it's been helping a little bit to not have so many crashes, those midday crashes. So the honey and lemon, it actually kind of gets me over the hump. So
is that like a prepackaged drink you're buying, or are you actually making your own thing every day?
Yeah, I mean, I just have like a little water filter at the house that hot water shoots out. So just throw in some hot water, put a little lemon, squeeze a little honey in there, bada bing, bada boom. Profits are coming soon,
Nice. Yeah, that midday crash is a thing with caffeine. Yeah, I've got a show sponsored by Red Bull today. So yeah, I've got a Red Bull, keep me a little more alert today instead of going the bourbon route. But as we've said on the show, we can only do 3 episodes in a row without bourbon, and then we're going to have to take that out of the name. So next episode, at least one of us is going to have bourbon on the show. So let's jump into Amazon news. We normally like to do Amazon news at the beginning. Normally, there's not a whole lot of Amazon news, and when it is Amazon news, it's something fun like restock limits or storage fee increases or something else like that. Today, what are you saying?
Go ahead, share, and then I have some news to share too.
Yeah. Well, if you have news relevant to books, the news I'm about to share is not. So share your news first if it's relevant to books and Amazon.
Yeah, Matthew, I'm not sure if you saw this, but this is actually pretty big for the book reselling space. The first Scout IQ Summit is officially, at the halfway point for ticket sales. So we have less than half the tickets remaining. And so if people are out there and haven't signed up to attend yet, now is the time. Otherwise, these last 24 tickets are going to go quick.
Yeah, and this is a pretty special Scout IQ Summit too, because the last event we had, it wasn't Scout IQ Summit, it was Turn the Page in Vegas was it 2019 or early 2020? Do you guys remember?
This is early 2020.
Yeah, but Steve spoke at that event and it was amazing. And then Steve is coming back for this event in Vegas. I'm starting to feel like Steve just likes Vegas more so than the events, but I don't know. We'll see. But he's coming back out October 14 and 15. It'll be a really, really fun time. If you guys haven't been to any of the past Turn the Page events we've done or anything like that, these events are amazing ways to network with other resellers. That's really where majority of the value is. The speakers are great. It's great to be able to go there and hear some great presentations, but having just these one-on-one conversations late at night over dinner, talking about life and business is really where so much of the value comes from. We've rented out an escape room for Friday night. So those of you that buy tickets early and get in on that portion of the trip, we'll have some fun in an escape room together and then do the event on Saturday. So it'll be a good time. Sign up at scoutiq.co/summit. As David said, tickets are halfway gone and we will raise the prices towards the end. So get them now while you can.
Steve,
yeah.
real quick question. I know you do the conferences and do all of that, and I know you've also been to the Turn the Page events in the past. And correct me if I'm wrong, but these larger conferences that are just more general e-commerce, those are great. Because you get to meet people who are in e-commerce, but not necessarily in your specific niche. But one of the beautiful things about a more small, intimate event like Turn the Page, or in this case, Scout IQ Summit, is that really it's just concentrated knowledge and information distilled into those 1-2 days, right?
Yeah, it's huge. I'll tell you, I went to the one. Where did I go? Was it Vegas or San Diego when I went and I spoke? And there was Travis.
It was Vegas. It was in early 2019. Actually, it was like March or April of 2019.
Yeah, that was a big game. That was a big game changer for me. And even Avery's conference that he put on recently in Miami, that was like really concentrated for online arbitrage. These concentrated events are huge. And honestly, like in this business, it's important what you know, but it's also who you know, because it's those relationships behind closed doors. It's the conversation with Matthew or Dave at 11 o'clock telling you about a lead or a new software or something that's going on. And I mean, it's huge. The old quote everybody talks about: your net worth is equal to your network. And it's true. So I could promise anybody who goes to that event, you're going to learn a lot of stuff that you probably, haven't heard about on YouTube. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, same here.
No, definitely think so. So it'll be a fun event. Do you have anything else to share on that, David? Or not?
Nope,
you good?
That's
all right.
Much it.
The news I was talking about, I was looking it up today, just some news on Amazon. This just released like an hour or two ago, but I knew a little while ago the FTC started an investigation into Amazon Prime subscription practices. And normally when they start one of these government type investigations, they always try and interview the CEOs, and the legal team always strikes that down and are normally successful. But for some reason this time, the FTC just ruled today that Bezos and Jassy are going to have to actually testify in this thing. So what the FTC is claiming is that Amazon has been deceptive in their Amazon Prime subscription, where they get people to sign up for it without fully getting their consent, and then they make it hard for them to quit. And then they expanded it into Kindle Unlimited and Amazon Prime Video and all their other subscription services, which is funny because I always forget that Amazon's even a subscription in the first place for Amazon Prime, because I've had Amazon Prime for so many years. I forget they take out money every single year, because I know they still are doing that. But granted, I get way more value from them than they're taking back out of my pocket. But have you guys ever noticed it hard to cancel an Amazon subscription? Or have you ever been signed up for something you didn't realize you were signed up for on Amazon? Both of you have?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many different settings. It's kind of weird. There's so many different things going on all the time. But for me, it's always like I'm in the same boat as you. It's like I get so much value that I just don't even question it,
Yeah. No, I've especially had that with, for some reason, like Kindle Unlimited, and one of their other subscriptions, Audible. Sometimes I'll be, my wife like, why are we getting billed? We've been billed for the last 6 months for this. I'm like, we are? I didn't even know I was signed up for that. I must have accidentally done that and then forgot to cancel. And yeah, so it'll be interesting how they testify and the types of questions they ask them, because it's a very broad kind of case. But they have 200 million Amazon Prime subscribers on their platform, US and overseas. And so that's like, I don't know what it is. It's either 20 or 30 something $billion of revenue just from that subscription. So it's a decent part of Amazon's business, because that's just pure profit coming in for them. There's no cost on that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Not really related to books at all, but some interesting Amazon news nonetheless. So Steve, let's get into your story a little bit. So I know a bit about your story, but what did you really do to start getting involved in reselling? And when did YouTube start becoming a part of that kind of documenting journey for you?
Yeah, so I think it was around 2013 or so. I actually made my first YouTube video, and probably, I don't know, a month or two before I started reselling. I was actually at the time, I was dead broke, and I was living at home with my parents. I was about 23,000 in debt. Um, and I was working at the Cracker Barrel serving tables. I was delivering pizza on the side. And I was miserable. I've always been a hustler. Like, I've always had that hustle in me, whether it was, setting up the lemonade stand and help get my friends together to, help me, or the newspaper route, or when I was, around 20, was it 20 or 21? I got arrested for doing some stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And I always had that hustle. And as I got older, I made some mistakes hanging out with some wrong people and whatnot. And yeah, from like 21 to 25, I was just working a lot of crappy jobs. And I think by the time I was like 26 or 27, I'm 35 now, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I just found myself on YouTube watching videos, and I stumbled upon this guy named the Bonafide Hustler. Real big jack dude, well-spoken, put together. And, he lived in a nice house in Austin, Texas, and he was making money flipping bicycles and all types of weird vintage stuff online. And I was so confused because I've seen resellers before, and you think of like the reseller at the flea market, or like the ones going to the garage sales, and a lot of times like they kind of look like all beat up. They're not typically put together that well. They have their freedom though. Now that I'm a reseller, I'm like, whatever, I'm not judging, I'm not saying anything bad, but I think in the past it never really excited me, because I was like, that kind of looks like, not that appealing to be a reseller. But this guy was so well put together, and he was making money flipping bikes. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to start flipping some bicycles. I'm not talking motorcycles, I'm talking bicycles, 10 speeds and mountain bikes. And what I would do is I would go on to Craigslist. This is back in 2012, 2013. And I would just sit there all day long, refreshing the newly listed bicycle listings, looking for Cannondales and Treks and vintage Raleigh 10 speeds with the Brooks leather saddle on it. And believe it or not, there were a lot of bikes that were underpriced, 50, 60, 70%. And to make a long story short, that summer, I ended up making around $20,000 in sales. I don't know. I might've put 5, 10K in my pocket. I don't remember, but I made enough money to where it got to the point where I was like, I don't think I'm going to work at the Cracker Barrel anymore. I think I'm going to resell bicycles. And I was flipping bikes and everything. And then all of a sudden, something crazy happened in Connecticut that a lot of you folks out west might not know about. It started snowing out. It started getting real cold. I know in California and stuff, it started snowing a little bit. But you guys are in Denver, so you know about that, right? Right? You're both in Denver.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm in Phoenix now, but I was in Denver. So yeah, I know the snow.
But yeah, I mean, once it started getting cold out here, the bicycles stopped selling. I couldn't, people weren't listing them. And I was like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? And I learned about the crazy world of selling on eBay, and I started a clothing business, scaled my business up to, I don't know, $5 to $8 grand a month, enough money for me to move out of my house. And long story short, I just kept learning and learning and learning, and got into books and Amazon. And so I documented my whole journey on YouTube. Ain't that right, buddy? And yeah, I've never looked back. So it's been a crazy journey, but I love every moment of it, and the freedom that reselling gives me, and has even given my family. I taught my mom how to do this as well. She retired selling books. Shout out to Mama Profit. I love it. I really do love it.
So what inspired you kind of so early on to start documenting your journey on YouTube? Was that just something you've always been fascinated by, or is it because the kind of examples you had before you? What kind of led you so early on in the journey to do that?
Buddy, do you want to?
You just want to be part of the show.
You know what? He's not that sweet. This is Harry. His sister's name is Potter, and he's only sweet when he wants to get fed. So don't let him trick you. But to be honest with you, it had nothing to do with, like, back then, you weren't really making money from YouTube. Like, the whole Google AdSense program, at least from my understanding, wasn't as developed as it is today. It's like really easy to make money now on YouTube. I started documenting because everything that I had always started in the past, no lie, I would quit. Everything I would quit. Anything I would start, give up when it got hard, whether it was school or, I wanted to start a cleaning business. I wanted to start a landscaping business. There were all these things that I wanted to do. I would just quit. And I'm like, you know what? this YouTube thing's kind of cool. Like maybe I should just start documenting my journey. And I don't think I realized it at the time that I was trying to build a network, but I wanted to be a part of something. You know, I didn't really feel a part of anything. I felt like I was a loser. You know, I lived at home with my parents. I was 40, 50 pounds heavier than I am now. You know, I felt alone and I wanted to be a part of something. And I was like, you know what, if I can start making videos like the Bonafide Hustler did, got me going, got me feeling like there's hope again. Cause I didn't feel like there was any hope. I'm like, all I knew and all anyone ever told me was like, you have to you have to start your own business, but like starting like a brick and mortar is like impossible. Like it felt like, and then like, everyone's like, well, you have to go to school. And I'm like, I don't want to go to school. And then I'm like, oh, well, I got to sit in a job in a cubicle all day. So I just felt so alone and hopeless. I'm like, I'm just going to make videos. It seems fun. If it's going to help people, bring people together, I'm just going to do it. And people started enjoying my stupid little videos. Like, I didn't even know what the heck I was talking about. Like, I'm like trying to teach people how to fix bicycles. Like all I knew how to do was put air in a tire and like change the tube. But I think that's why I started.
Those videos up?
Oh yeah. I've never deleted a video on my channel. I just left them all up. So it's kind of cool to look back and how like,
that's really cool.
Even now, like the way I would speak was just, I lacked so much confidence. Like I would overthink everything. It's very interesting looking back at my old videos. It's really weird.
I'm sure that was huge for accountability, just getting started, because once you start getting an audience and building it up, it motivates you to keep going because you don't want people to see you've slacked off, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well. But for me, I loved being a part of a community. That was the best part of it all. Like, and even now, like in 2022, moving into 2023, like having that community supporting you, right? You don't have to have your own YouTube channel, but you might just be adding value in the book flipper community or in the Scout IQ community or helping answer questions, and you build those relationships. It's so much easier. The same even applies like if you're going to thrift stores, build relationships with the workers. You want to be working in a place where people like you, you like them, you can have fun. It's not weird. And yeah, that accountability was everything. If it wasn't for YouTube, I could almost guarantee I would have quit because my track record in the past was just quit everything.
Did your channel start taking off fairly quickly after? Was it a very slow build and then kind of went exponential at some point in time?
It was pretty slow. I remember this was probably a year ago. I looked back and you can go through your YouTube analytics and you could see like, all right, your first year, how many subscribers, second year, third year. There was never really like, I would love to sit here and act like I'm so cool and so great, but I'm really not. Like, it's just been a slow and steady. Like I didn't really have anything take off. Unlike TikTok, you know, like I had a video, I've had multiple videos get like multiple millions of views. And like, now I have more subscribers on TikTok, and the same with Instagram. I got like 6 million on a video recently. And like, it brought like 50,000 subs in like overnight. I never had anything like that with YouTube. It was just slow, steady, consistent. I mean, what's it been like 9 years I've been posting and there's 2,500 videos. So do the math. That's like 200 to 300 videos a year on average. So when you do what you love, it's not work, it's fun. And I've got a good team that helps me now with YouTube. So all I got to do is shoot the content and I enjoy it, and bada bing, bada boom, it's good to go. So
that number of videos and just the sheer consistency it takes to do that is extremely impressive. I've made videos. I know what goes into it. It's difficult to stay consistent, much less for 9 years and do that many videos. So congratulations on that. That's super impressive.
I appreciate it. But, you know, there's a difference between you and I. You're all about quality over quantity. I'm all about quantity over quality. My videos are terrible. So
I don't know about that. I think your 189,000 subscribers might say otherwise. Nice. David, what kind of big questions do you have, or which way do you want to kind of lead this? Because I have like a million questions, but it'll probably lead us down a rabbit trail.
Sure. So I know, Steve, one of the things that really impressed me about you is you're sort of a renaissance man in the reselling space. You started off flipping bikes, and then you mentioned a few of the other products that you started flipping, and Craigslist to. Were you doing Craigslist to Craigslist?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you were doing Craigslist to Craigslist. It sounds like you were doing thrift stores to Amazon, and right now you're really focusing on eBay to Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah. Everything's been kind of a stepping stone. And as I try to figure out what I enjoy, what I like, and as I get older, I learn things about myself. So yeah, I mean, 90% of my business now is strictly eBay to Amazon. And that's what I'm going to be talking about actually at the Scout IQ Summit. I'm going to be giving a lot more details about what I do. So for anyone who goes there, I'm going to be dropping a lot of knowledge that I ain't putting on YouTube. I can promise you that. But yeah,
Give us a little teaser. Like, I'm trying to conceptualize what you're flipping, and like,
I'll tell you.
I only understand books really, and so it's like in my mind, it's like, really, are you just buying books at a low price and then selling it? But then I know you do a lot of new things too. So it's like, are you buying new fruit snacks off eBay and selling it on Amazon, or?
It's all in the sexual wellness category. No, I'm just kidding. So I sell a lot of media items. I'm actually very heavy in DVDs. I really like selling DVDs, board games, video games, a small amount of books. I used to do a lot more books, but now that I'm gated in like popular textbooks, I've just found it's kind of annoying. I still do books, eBay to Amazon, but I haven't mostly my virtual assistants do 99% of the sourcing for me from eBay to Amazon. So to be honest, there's a lot more nuances and just things you have to consider when buying a book versus a DVD, especially since most books are used, and it's easier for a virtual assistant to price an item out, like being able to look at the new buy box versus having to figure out the used price. And there's just different factors and stuff. Is it hardcover, softcover? So I haven't trained my team very well on that. But we're big into DVDs, video games, board games. We do some electronics. And yeah, I mean, we aim for typically on DVDs, a lot of our ROIs are like between anywhere from 40 to 90%. With board games, it's not as much. With video games, it's not as much. Electronics are up there too, pretty high ROIs. But yeah, I mean, we buy items from eBay and we put them on Amazon just due to the arbitrage opportunity.
Steve, it's a little unconventional, but like, do you see the private chat on the right-hand side of your screen right there?
Yeah, I got my phone up as well.
Okay. Can you just drop your seller ID or your buyer ID, eBay ID in? And what I want to do is search to see how many orders you placed with my account. Is that okay?
What do I have to do?
I'm just curious. Your eBay ID, just drop it in the private chat. And then I'm going to do like a year long search to see like, because I know.
Oh, you want to see if I'm buying? I was like, I don't want to share that with the whole world. But
no,
private, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, let me put that in there for you.
So you want to see David if he's purchased stuff from your eBay store in the past? Is what you're?
Yeah, I thought you guys were trolling me. But yeah,
no. I know for a fact that people are buying from our eBay store all the time because we price really aggressively on eBay just to take the sales off Amazon, only for Raiken to make the sales back on Amazon.
Grab it and put it back on Amazon.
Okay, cool. I mean, this username looks familiar. So anyway, keep talking.
Oh, dude, I'm excited for. You know what's so funny? I get messages. I'm not even kidding because like my name's on it. Like I'm not even, and I have like a specific script that I use. Do you ever get like an annoying script from someone like, hey, make sure it's not, that's me.
It's a gift. Please leave out the receipt. Please make sure you update.
No, I don't. No, those are drop shippers. I'm not drop shipping, but like I have a whole script, but you'll know very quickly. You definitely let me know.
That would be quite the coincidence. That would be funny. Yeah, so it's super unique. You hear all these different ways of people doing online arbitrage. You rarely ever hear the eBay to Amazon type idea. So that got me intrigued the second I heard that. And then you said a lot of it's done by VAs. So was this something you kind of figured out yourself first and then made some standard operating procedures you then passed on to your VAs? Or did you find VAs already knew how to do some of this stuff?
There's no VAs who know how to do it because there's nobody really doing it. Like you could even look on YouTube. And I think there's I'll get into the VAs as well, but I think a lot of people are scared to do eBay to Amazon just because of not being able to prove chain of custody, especially if you do new items and whatnot, IP complaints, so on and so forth. But I've got a lot of different strategies that I've learned about and things that I've taught my team to avoid IP complaints. As Avery always says, he always tells me, he's like, with my business, it is somewhat built on a volcano, just because, you know, you don't have invoices, you're playing on Amazon's sandbox, so on and so forth. And I don't know how long this is going to last. I would love to have legitimate invoices, but I've sold over 5,000 items in the last year, and I've only had one issue with an IP, and it was because I did something stupid before I even knew. There was only one seller on the listing. It was a DVD. It was a brand that goes by Eccentrics. And this will be a really good lesson for everyone watching. Especially if you're selling new. I think used, it could still happen as well. But if you're going to sell an item and there's only one seller on the listing, always take a look to see who it is, because if it's the brand, that's a red flag. And if you're using Keepa, what you can do is you can take a look at the number of sellers that are on the listing. And if it's like 7, 8, 7, 8, and then boom, drops down to 1. And then like a couple weeks go by and it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, boom, drops down to 1. They're doing like an IP infringement sweep. So a lot of these brands will do it in sweeps. Some of them do have companies that work for them and just do it all the time. But that's a big tip right there. So we have tons of systems in place just like that I could get into more. But back to your original question, I had flipped items from eBay to Amazon years ago, just because, you know, like for example, one of the first items I ever flipped was a Sony cassette player, brand new sealed. And I'd actually found one at the thrift store for, it was like $5 at Savers years back, flipped it for like $300. Yes, they sell for that actually for a lot more. Some of them sell for $600, $700, $800 now. It's
crazy.
It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And I was like, you know what? Let me go see if I could find one of these on eBay. And I did. I think I paid $100 and then flipped it back on Amazon for $300. But back then, you know, I was so big into thrifting and I was so busy and my whole channel was about thrifting. I loved the treasure hunt. You know, I had hair back then and I had a lot more energy in my 20s. That I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to, you know, I can't build a business. I didn't even have the business skills or really the capital to like do that at scale. But yeah, about a year ago, I just got kind of tired of going to thrift stores. Like, I don't know. It's just, life gets busy and you have other things and priorities, and we'll talk about real estate and YouTube and different things, but I just kind of like couldn't find time to squeeze in my day to like always go thrifting and always hit up the library sales and stuff. And I'm like, I got to find a way to be able to leverage this capital that I have, because I typically was always keeping like 50 to 100K in like free capital, like outside of all my investments just to make a move for business, to pay my team, so on and so forth. And I was like, I'm going to start doing this eBay to Amazon flipping thing. And when I started doing it, man, I did everything that's the craziest way. Like, I'll give you an example of what I used to do. And I still remember about a year ago, I'd be sitting in bed, and what I would do is I would pull out my phone and I would open up the Amazon seller app, and I would go to, let's just say, video games on eBay, newly listed, buy it now. And I'd open up the seller app and I would just start scanning the covers through the computer, because it pulls
Through the computer.
Yeah, through the computer. Right. And, you know, I felt like a ninja, right? It's like, oh man, this is crazy. And guess what? It was so stupid and inefficient with my time, but I was finding deals, right? Like I was finding deals. Like it wasn't the greatest thing to do, but I started to realize like, oh my God, there's a lot of different items that I could flip from eBay to Amazon. And everyone always told me, you can't do that. You're going to get IP complaints. You're going to get kicked off. Just like everyone says on Amazon, like, don't sell on Amazon. You're going to get in trouble, kicked off. But then we have people like David, who's been doing it for how many years? 100?
14.
So you got to be smart in your business. But yeah, I mean, everything I did in the beginning was inefficient, and I slowly but surely learned all types of crazy things now. And now my business is pretty much 90% outsourced. It's not huge. I do around a little over 30K a month right now, but the margins are great. So I'm bringing about 10K profit from that business right now. Although I'm not paying myself because I'm trying to scale. So I'm just investing it all back in the business. But the margins are very, very healthy.
So how does this kind of compare from a cash flow standpoint to like normal online arbitrage? Because I know normal online arbitrage, it's some massive credit card bills every single month because they're just trying to get the scale out of it. Is it as cash intensive to do these kind of eBay to Amazon flips, or is it not near as bad as that?
I mean, it's pretty similar. The only difference is my average buy cost is around $13 to $15, and my average selling price last month was $42.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I would say a lot of people who do the traditional like Nike, Lego, Adidas, that type of OA hustle, I would say their average buy cost is probably higher than that. It's probably 2 to 4 times higher, 2 to 3, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, that's been my biggest struggle. And, I probably shouldn't be saying this like on all these videos. People are going to be like, wow, he's probably an idiot, but I'm just being 100% honest. Like there were so many business skills that I was lacking as a thrifter. Like I thought I was like so smart as a thrifter. Like I remember I was on a podcast years ago. Do you guys know Jonathan Cleater?
Sounds familiar, but I can't put a
Yeah.
face to the name.
He's a big 7-figure seller. And I remember on one of the podcasts on my channel, he goes, well, what do you pay yourself? Like, how much do you take home every single month? And like, this was like 4 years ago and my brain didn't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I have such a high margin business. Like all the money that comes in, I just keep it. And then I reinvest a small amount back into the inventory. I spend $300, $400, $500 a month on books going thrifting and I make $5,000, $6,000 off of it. But when you're doing OA, I learned my lesson really, really quick. You have to know your numbers like the back of your hand because, no longer is your cost of goods, 5 to 7 to 10% of your total expenses. Now it's 30, 40%, sometimes even more. So yeah, it was a very big struggle this year. And I want to give a big shout out to, Avery Romer, the Romer. He helped me a lot with spreadsheets and setting up systems and stuff. So, I've got a lot to learn, but, online arbitrage is, I think, something everyone should eventually get into just to have to learn the skills of managing cash flow, which as a thrifter, you can get away with a lot more as a thrifter.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matthew.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, Steve, like just listening to your story and you talked about stepping stones earlier and it's really fascinating. Like I think the evidence of how you look and approach business and life really is stepping stones. And what you said, like how you pulled up the seller app and you were just scanning the products on newly listed, like you literally just took, an analog version of thrifting and turned it digital. And so now the thrift shop is called eBay. And now you're like you're waiting for new things to come up and you're scanning it at like literally off the screen. And I could very clearly see that transition and how sort of the cogs in your mind worked for that. And it's phenomenal because I think so many of us get caught up, like you were saying, like paralysis by analysis, right? Just like you get so caught up, oh, hey, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. And like really shifting your mindset from that to like what it looked like if you could do that and more, right? And so just I want to touch on that. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is like it's really fascinating to see like, I see what you're doing right now. You're, doing a version of OA, buying onesie twosies off of eBay, flipping them onto Amazon. I still see that sort of as a successor to what I'm doing right now, which is buying a truckload of used items and then finding what I can sell to, list on Amazon. And in a lot of ways, what people are doing with OA, buying from Walmart, Target, those websites, Kohl's, is kind of a variation of wholesale, right? Because these wholesalers and distributors, they put out a list and they say, hey, these are what we have. And you're able to buy, 20, 50, 100 quantity deep for those. The same way a lot of these guys, go onto these websites and buy 10, 20, 30 quantity deep. And so it's really interesting. And it really shows that, so much of this is cyclical and there are a lot of similarities and the evolution of e-commerce. It's really fascinating. I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, no, it is huge. And I'm glad you pointed that out. And for everyone listening, don't think to yourself, oh, I'm just selling books or I'm just flipping items from eBay to Amazon. You're literally learning a skill that is transferable to so many other, parts of business, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with only being a bookseller, only being an eBay to Amazon flipper or an eBay. It doesn't matter, whatever makes you happy. But the skill of analyzing a listing, understanding Keepa, understanding how things sell and how competition plays a role in everything, it's transferable to wholesale, transferable to truckloads, to private label. I mean, even to brand management. It's just absolutely, it's amazing. So this skill, I always say it, the skill of learning how to sell on Amazon is a skill that could literally pay you for life, as long as, you know, this lawsuit, you know, goes well with Bezos that Matthew was talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, I was going to say, you know, you having your hand in so many different, you know, areas of reselling, where do you see, I guess, the next step, and where do you see the next big opportunity for maybe smaller sellers like us?
So do you want to know more towards where I'm looking to go, or where I advise smaller sellers start in terms of good
Maybe
opportunities?
maybe where you're looking to go. I'm sure there's a lot of content on how
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I know for a fact at massive scale, like I know I could scale my business to like 100K a month in sales, like fairly easily. Like I have friends of mine who are doing eBay to Amazon who are doing 2 to 3 times as much as me with electronics, with household items, with all different types of categories. Like it's ridiculous. What I am playing around with the idea of, and I'm moving very slow on it because I know how I am and I get excited about things very quickly and then realize within a couple months, why did I do this? I'm playing with the idea of wholesale. I like the idea of being able to have my capital work for me. I don't like the idea of having to have a warehouse. I don't like the idea of having physical employees, the liability of it all. You know, as you mentioned before, I turned a physical reselling world into a digital reselling world from thrift to eBay flips. So I know I can do wholesale to a prep center. I know that's also going to eat into my costs as well. And a lot of people think, well, if I get a warehouse, I'm going to save money. But as you could probably attest to, David, there's probably a million things you didn't consider when getting a warehouse that you might regret. So that's really what I'm kind of thinking about is the next move, because I don't know how large I want to scale my business model without having chain of custody. I just know it's a ticking time bomb. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And there's a lot of things that smaller sellers can get away with. But once you start getting up to like 50 to 100 to 200K a month, it's a numbers game with Amazon. And I would actually love your guys' feedback in terms of what your thoughts are in terms of being able to prove chain of custody, because I'm actually not sure if you could with books, but I've heard a lot of people say that with used items, it's not as risky. So if any way I can get your feedback on that, David, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. We run into this issue probably once or twice a year where we have counterfeit claims, you know, pretty much saying it's a fake.
Is
We
it
also
without
have,
a test buy or like a customer, actual customer? Because there's
yeah, just a customer saying, "Hey, I got this book and it looks fake," right? And Amazon opens up a case. We also get
I'm sorry, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
We also get issues where we get IP complaints, you know, from the brand owners. And so in all of those cases, this might be a great tip for a lot of the booksellers and maybe even other sellers out there. I learned this pretty early on, but essentially one way that I've met all of those requirements whenever they ask for receipt is I give them a copy of a purchase order from Goodwill, or not like an itemized receipt, but like a receipt for a truckload or like a big purchase. It should be a couple $100, and it should not have any itemized lists in it. And then I'll hand write on it before I scan it. Hey, this ASIN was part of this purchase. And then I'll send that into them. Now, it's worked every time in preventing me from having any sort of issues, bigger issues with that. Like, they've never flagged my account. They've never suspended me for that with that method. But occasionally what they then will do is say, hey, you can't sell this ASIN anymore. So it's maybe not the most effective strategy. Like if I had a brand new receipt, like a receipt from manufacturer, it might be a little different. But I think considering the circumstances, it's a great way to sort of give Amazon what they're looking for and maybe minimize some of the headaches.
Yeah, interesting. So is that a receipt actually from like a cashier, or that's like you're buying like a backroom access truckload and getting an invoice, so it's like a little bit more legitimate looking?
Yeah, I mean, it literally just looks like a invoice
Purchase
from,
order.
yeah, just purchase order. It's a sheet of paper, right? Or it's a document, 8.5 by 11 document, and
That's a
has
good
their
tip.
company letterhead on the top left, and then has all the information. So it's worked almost every time. I think even when I was in a pinch, I sent them, like, it was a handwritten receipt from the Salvation Army for like $2,000, and it was like, hey, yeah, and it worked. In that case, I was able to continue selling that item, and it was totally fine. But the important thing is, like, on that receipt, you have to put, hey, this ASIN was part of this shipment.
Yeah, it's similar to like when you're getting ungated, right? If you want to get ungated with DVDs, you always want to write the ASIN you're trying to get ungated in, highlight it so they know, because it's got to be perfectly clear to them. I remember when I'd gotten my IP complaint, I actually had a lot of friends of mine who I talked to who would just leave it on their account. So, when you go into your inventory health, it would say like 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you have for issues. And a big shout out to Avery again. He told me if you go in and you could actually appeal it, sometimes instead of them asking for a plan of action, they want you to just accept that you violated the terms. So you click 4 buttons and you just accept it, and then it gets wiped off your account. So mine got wiped off within like 10 minutes of my account. Now, who knows what's going on in the back end of my account, but my account looks clean. I also, one more tip I'm going to share. This helps me sleep a little bit at night. I just recently hired an attorney on retainer. Shout out to Chris Grant. He put me on to him, and it's $89 a month. And anytime I have any type of counterfeit claims, if anything comes up, which I know I'm sure they will, IP complaints that I can't fight, if I need POAs written for an $89 a month retainer, I just contact them. They have user access. They go in, they write the plan of actions. They've worked on this with a lot of, big sellers, and just helps me sleep at night. So I'm not sure if you guys do anything like that, but
do they just bill you by hour then?
No. So it's literally for the $89 a month. And again, I got recommended by a couple pretty popular Amazon sellers, and it's not like affiliated, because you can't even like do affiliate links through lawyers and stuff. So it's not like they have nothing to gain. But yeah, it's just a one-time payment, and then they write the POAs. They do everything for you for free, just outside of that $89 a month plan. So for someone like me, I hate doing stuff like that. So yeah.
That is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
So I noticed there's also, on the same topic of kind of IP complaints and stuff like that, I think you'd mentioned in a video you made somewhat recently that you had some kind of software that could see how often a brand is submitting IP complaints for a product, and you just stay away from certain ones instead of even going down that rabbit hole and buying them off eBay and trying to flip them. Is that something you do with every single item you're kind of purchasing to make sure that seller, the main brand holder, is not doing that?
Yeah. So we have a system in place. We obviously go through Keepa, which that's a Chrome extension. We check to see how many sellers, are there any drops? We check to see if there's only one seller on the listing. But we also use IP Alert. That's a software that Chris Grant and Nate McAllister created a while back. And, they have like, he mentioned it on one of my live videos. They have like over 20,000 users. So it's very popular, and it's a crowdsourced Chrome extension. And all the information or data actually goes through Nate and Chris. So they double check it. They have like a whole process. So IP Alert is great because anytime you pull up a listing on Amazon, it will essentially run it through the software, and it'll shoot back if there's any known IP alerts to be on the lookout for. So they have an annual license. I think for life, it's like $250. So for me, it was well worth it. And I even, for $60 extra, you can get another license. And my team has it on their computer as well. So, on Amazon, it's Russian roulette. A lot of times I don't want to be fear mongering and scare everybody, but a lot of times it is Russian roulette. If your time's coming, your time's coming. But I try to be proactive and put systems in place to prevent things like that from happening, because your time could come. It could be a 1% chance, but 99% of the time you're doing something against terms of service, or you just don't know what you don't know. So, you got to keep learning. This game's changing quickly all the time. And that's another reason why you should go to, events like Scout IQ Summit. I ain't trying to, promote it, but it's, it will save someone's butt eventually, having that connect, or, having a friend who says, hey, watch out for this, don't do this. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So switching gears just a little bit, not too much. I know we could talk about this forever, but your VAs you've hired to kind of run part of this business for you, how difficult has it been to kind of find, train, and retain VA talent to be able to do this for you? I've had not the best luck in the past retaining VAs and keeping them on for a long time. Have you found a good kind of system for doing this where you're actually able to keep them for a while?
I'm laughing because I just shared this on one of my my videos recently. The first virtual assistant I hired. So like this was back in like this January of this year when I started kind of doing it, like starting to really move, right? I thought I was scaling with all my inefficient ways, scanning listings on my phone. And I was doing everything inefficient. Like literally, I told you I was scanning and whatnot. I hired a virtual assistant. I had her working 8 hours a day, opening up the Amazon seller app. So if you give them user access, they can actually go into your app and scan. So she was scanning on her phone for 8 hours a day. And after like a month and a half, she quit and like straight up ghosted me. And I was like, yeah, I probably deserve that. Cause I had her doing everything like the dumbest way you could possibly do it. Like,
so you transitioned from you doing this to having her do this?
Yes. And she was doing it. And she was like, I was driving her absolutely up a wall nuts. And, it was just really, really difficult. So she ghosted me in like, I don't know, February or March. And I was like, oh man, like I got to figure out like a better way to do this. And that's when I really started to network with a lot of the folks in the online arbitrage community. Again, big shout out to Avery for hosting the Miami 2022 conference, which is fantastic. I recommend everyone goes to that as well, because I saw Caleb there, but there was a ton of online arbitrage people there. David, you were there, man. You were looking fly in your suit. And I learned a ton. I learned about all different types of softwares and tactical arbitrage and seller ramp and Keepa. I knew about Keepa, but I didn't realize I didn't know what I was doing with Keepa. And that's when the game really started to change. That's why I'm such a huge proponent of networking and going to these events and stuff, because you don't know what you don't know. And I really started to figure out some new systems and new ways to source. So then I hired a virtual assistant, and since then it's been pretty smooth. But to be 100% honest, I tell this to everybody. If you try to rush the process of hiring and training and building the skill sets of a virtual assistant or an employee, if you try to rush that process, it's going to go really slow for you long-term. They're going to quit. They're going to make lots of mistakes. You've got to go very, very slow. You can't push them faster than it's going to go. And I made that mistake because I've hired hundreds of virtual assistants over the years. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I've made over the years, is just trying to rush the process. And on top of that, I learned that you want to hire someone for one role. It's very tempting to hire someone and they're doing a great job and you start to like, know, and trust them. And then you start throwing this on them and this on them and this on them. And they're all in different areas and different roles, and it overwhelms them, and the quality of their work starts to really go down. So it's been a long process. I would say it took a good 4 to 6 months to get my virtual assistant really trained up. But one tip that I can give to everybody: when you're working with a virtual assistant, the big thing that I do, and this has helped me a lot, is I create videos documenting every little process in the business. So I use Loom. You could use any screen share software and document every little thing in the business. And then you could just simply create a Google document and break down all the different parts of the business, just like chapters in a book, and just hyperlink out to the Loom video. So when we hired the second person, I didn't even have to train them. I had my first girl train the second girl, and then they just referenced the training manual. And the last thing I would say is, you can train people amazing. You can have all the SOPs and you could have all the documents, but if you don't have an open feedback loop to be able to communicate and give feedback and check their work and course correct them a little bit, then it's going to end in in a disaster. So I'm still course correcting. I'm still improving. I'm still checking their work, but the amount of time I'm having to spend is getting less and less and less. Can you relate to that at all, David?
Well, I guess I have a follow-up question real quick. So how many VAs are you actively at right now?
So with my Amazon business, right now I have 4. So I have 2 people who are sourcing full time. They work 50 to 60 hours a week, which, as you know, with virtual assistants, typically whatever they tell you, you can just cut off like 30% of that, because I've worked with enough of them, and I've spied on enough of them through softwares and stuff legally, right? There's softwares where you can like watch their clicks and everything. They don't work as much as they say they do. So 60 hours is probably really like 40 to 45, but you don't, it's such a low cost. And if they get the outcome, I don't really care. And then I have a couple people who are helping with stranded inventory, repricing, listing my items. I don't even list my items anymore, which we could get into, because that's a kind of a gangster little system I put together myself. And then I have my girlfriend opening up all the packages because I can't do it anymore. So I guess she'll be my 5th virtual assistant in the real life.
I'm so excited to like connect with you. We're going to have to like go out Friday night and I'm going to buy you a couple of shots and have you spill all the secrets
hey,
of the
man.
All the details.
For you, man, if you can help me to dress as well as you do, man, like you were at the last conference, man, you can get me drunk. I'll spill it all out to
you. Okay. Well, so going back to the VAs, I agree with you. I think having a feedback system, and really it goes both ways, right? Not only should you give them feedback, but you should also rely on feedback from your subordinates in order to improve your processes and systems, right? But what I was going to say is, I think VAs and just employees in general, like as you continue to scale up, one of the challenges really truly does become, like not only building good systems, but building a good organizational structure in order to support the growth, and also something that scales really well. And so, 4 VAs, 5, including your girlfriend, that's really impressive. And I guess one of the things that I'm curious to see is like, I think once you get to about 6 or 7, that's really when you'll probably want to step to the side and have someone who's more so day-to-day sort of casting the vision of, what needs to happen that day. Whereas you become more of like maybe, a big picture, what's happening this month, this quarter.
Yeah. And that's what I've done with my YouTube channel and stuff. Like I've hired a manager now who, works with the graphic designers, works with the video editors, works with the copywriters, so on and so forth. So I'm sure I'll get there when I'm ready, but I definitely agree with that for sure. Because it is a lot of time, having to work with them and having to be that touch point,
Exactly.
Do you use onlinejobs.ph for your VAs?
Oh yeah. Yep. I stopped using Upwork a while ago. It's just, I've noticed that the quality, for certain things I'll hire on Upwork, right? For like developers and different things like that. But on onlinejobs.ph, it's just a lot less inexpensive, I found. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like the big one for VAs at least. And I can't imagine, well, number one, how many people that website helped out, but number 2, whoever owns that service, onlinejobs.ph, they must rake in tons and tons of money.
Dude, I'm so jealous of that business. I've actually done some sponsored videos with the owner, and I've talked to him quite a few times. He's a really cool dude. You guys would probably be really good friends, Matthew, because he's out there, and I think he's out there in Phoenix too. He's always like out there in wildlife and everything. He's a super cool dude for sure. Yeah. Forget what his name is. I know Avery's in the comments. He knows his name, but yeah, that's a great business model. I love that model.
Yeah, I know that when I've posted jobs on there before, way more than Upwork, I have resumes or at least responses flowing in. You can tell they've actually read the post, most of them, and they've actually put thoughtful replies. Where normally with Upwork, you'll have 50 people right away, but you can tell they're all just automated responses and they haven't actually read through the job description at all. So I've noticed a lot higher quality with postings on Online Jobs PH. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the service as well.
Can I share one quick tip? Because this will save you guys like 80% of your time when you're posting on onlinejobs.ph. I didn't really notice that much of a difference, Matthew. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm sure we all have different experiences based on what type of jobs and stuff. But I actually found on like Upwork and onlinejobs.ph that a lot of people give a lot of canned responses. That's just my experience, right? You might be hiring for something a bit more different. So I could see that being that way. But what I do, and I learned this from Evan Carmichael in one of his videos a long time ago. So what I always do is I write a couple paragraphs or so. I like to be very detailed with my application in terms of who I'm looking for, the values, when I want them to work, just different things, right? And what I always do, and I'm curious if you do this at all, Matthew, is I always sneak something into like one of the sentences. You do that too. And, for me, this is, if you're wondering how I've gotten to 189,000 subscribers on YouTube, it's because of this tip. I tell them, I say, I want you to respond in the title of this application, how many subscribers I have in my YouTube channel at Raiken Profit. So that's definitely led to at least another 50 subscribers. But yeah, surprisingly, 80% of the applications won't respond to the question, which means they didn't read it. So I only find that about 20% of them actually read and authentically respond. So if you post a job for like an assistant or even for someone to source for you on eBay or Amazon, you're going to get hundreds of applications. Like I've gotten like 800 before on a personal assistant, and 80% of them don't follow the directions and they don't read. And for anyone running an Amazon business, how easy is it to get kicked off? How easy is it to get suspended? How easy is it to lose money on a product? It's just one little mistake. So I want someone who's detail oriented, and 80% of them cookie cutter template responses. So always sneak something in. I saw Matthew, you what do you put in there?
Yeah, I change it depending on what I'm posting for. So I had hired VAs a while back for a side affiliate website project I was doing. I didn't want to spend time on it. I wanted to outsource some of it, but I needed someone that was good at research and someone that somewhat knew the category. So this website was all in like tactical gear and stuff like that. So I wrote out the normal post and I snuck in there at the end, please describe to me the differences between an AR-15 rifle and an AR-15 pistol. Because first of all, I knew most people wouldn't read it in the first place. And second of all, I know most people, even if they like tactical gear, don't know the answer to that. So they'd have to do a quick research to figure it out. And it was perfect because I had like 80 applications and 6 or 7 people, a lot of people read it, but very few people took the time to do the research and actually put the answer in there. And all 4 of those people actually turned out to be great for doing that part of the job. So whatever the post is, I find something somewhat related to it that helps, and I throw that somewhere in there towards the middle or the bottom. And then I just pick off the applications like you were saying by that, where I just don't even read them if they haven't responded to that question.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's switch real fast and do the next segment on the Geek Out moment. So throw your questions you have for Raiken in the comments. We'll get to those in a moment. We want to be respectful of his time and not go way over today. But Geek Out moment, we're talking about something that we are fascinated with at the moment. David, what's something you've been geeking out about the last week?
This is going to be so lame. Give me 1 second, though.
Oh, he's bringing a demonstration. It's show and tell today.
So this is the first rain jacket that I've ever bought. And so I got this
Patagonia, baby.
Patagonia. And this is actually probably like the first new Patagonia jacket I've ever bought, because like everything else I found at Goodwill for like $5. And so like I actually splurged, got this, and it's been raining a lot here in Denver. I sold my pickup truck. I ride my bike to work every day now. And so I've just been getting, like yesterday I got drenched in the rain. I was like, I got to stop this. So wore this morning, got caught in a little bit of rain, but came to work completely dry. Rain jackets do work, you guys. Sounds so lame, but I'm so happy about this rain jacket.
And you're looking good while you're riding your bike down the road. Nice. A little while ago, random side side question for you, David. You had talked about possibly modifying your electric bicycle to go faster with some random modification you found online. Did you actually try that, and did your electric bike blow up?
Okay, so yeah, I have an electric bike, goes about 20 miles an hour. I found a controller that you can pretty much just plug and play, and it increases it by like 20%. So it goes to 24, 25 miles an hour. And like for those of you guys, I mean, I know a lot of people drive, and so 25 miles an hour doesn't seem that fast. But if you've ever ridden a motorcycle or a bicycle, like 25 miles an hour is like freaking fast. And so like I put it on there, and honestly, like ended up taking it off. Number one, I just got scared. It was just like it just felt like it felt so sketchy, and like so I took it off for that. Number two, it was just like my current controller right now, I can gradually increase the speed, so I can go from like 5 miles to 7 to 10 to 15, and this one it was just like boom, you push the throttle down and you were like rocket. And so it was just like, it didn't really work. I was in a pretty bad bike accident. Like, when was that? Do you remember that, Matthew? It was like,
I do remember. I don't remember when it was, but I do remember you telling us all about that bike accident. Yeah.
It was like in the beginning of summer. Like I got beat up pretty bad. I'm actually wearing the pants that I wore when there are like scruffs and holes and stuff on these pants. But anyway, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't mess around with that kind of stuff anymore. I try not to.
Nice. What about you, Steve? What type of things have you been geeking out over lately?
So it's funny. I'm actually geeking out over something that's quite the opposite of David. David's trying to avoid getting wet. He's trying to avoid the water. And Avery's going to love this. I sent him a little picture. I bought this. So I have a hot tub. And, I used to live with Avery. It was funny. Someone in the comments is like, how does it feel not living with Avery, actually having furniture? Avery was awesome to live with. I learned a lot. But we had moved into this really nice apartment building that had a hot tub and a cold plunge right next to it. And then COVID hit and they shut the whole thing down. That's why we moved there. And I've got this hot tub, and I just recently bought this cool little thing called the ice barrel.
Oh, no, I know what that is. Yeah.
Dude, it is absolutely crazy. So I used to have a freezer chest, and I hated having to go into that. I'm like, I'm going to electrocute myself. I'm going to kill myself in this freezer chest taking an ice bath. I'm going to forget to pull out the plug one of these days. It got like super nasty in there, and Avery came. He's still in it. He doesn't care. He's a dog. And now I use the freezer chest just to put buckets of water in to freeze it. So then I just dump it into this ice barrel, and I go back and forth between the hot tub and the ice bath. And it's exhilarating. I absolutely love it. Funny story really quick. I have a fence in my backyard. And the other day, I just got this ice barrel like a week ago. And the other day it was like 6 a.m. It was still a little bit dark, but the light was starting to come up. And I live on a corner, and I have a fence, but when people walk through the sidewalk, like they can see over the fence and like see my hot tub and my ice barrel. Well, anyways, I was in the ice barrel, and this old lady was walking by, and like she looked at me, and like we kind of like connected eyes, and I kind of freaked out. So I just ducked into the water, and I came back out, and she's like peeking around the corner looking at me. And I'm like, she's going to think someone's getting murdered in my backyard, getting dumped in a barrel.
I'd imagine most people have no idea what the ice barrel is, so I can't imagine the thought of seeing someone sitting in a barrel in their backyard.
At 6 a.m, just it's like 50 degrees out. Oh, that's my life.
Avery says you should get a water heater for it in the winter to keep the water in the ice barrel around 50 degrees, like an outdoor pool.
Yeah. I'm going to have to put something in there because it will freeze, like some type of like aquarium device or something to keep the water moving. Because I think if the water keeps moving, it won't freeze, right? I think I read
as long as it's moving fast enough, it won't freeze unless it gets like crazy cold. But it shouldn't freeze as long as it's moving around. That's really, really smart about putting those buckets of water to freeze in your freezer and then dumping those in. Because I've looked at that ice barrel before. And I'm like, how the heck am I going to get enough ice every single time to dump in there and cool it down? And that's a really smart way of doing it.
Yeah, thankfully I had the ice, the chest there. My girlfriend's like, "Oh, we're gonna store all meats in here." I'm like, "Nope, this is for the ice, baby."
No meat.
You have to fill it up every time that you go in, or
So I just fill up 2 big barrels, like, the barrels like the construction guys have that fill up like concrete. Like I just put water in them. Yeah. So I don't know. That probably comes to like 50, 60 pounds or so. So I just dump it in there and wait 10, 15 minutes. And it's still kind of warm out over here, but it got down to like 55 just before this show. I had to make sure I was on my A game for the podcast. So
I'm curious, does it plug in or you have to
No, it's just a barrel, but it came with like a couple little steps that come right up to it. And it has a little drainage system on the bottom, which is really convenient. Cause like, why not just go get a trash barrel or something? But they're shaped kind of weird. And like, this is good material. It's recycled. You could drain it easily. You could clean it out easily. I mean, it was $1,000. So these people have margin.
Insulated too?
No, it's not insulated. There's no seat or anything, but I find it's a lot easier to get in versus like when you have to go into like a freezer chest, it's just not comfortable. This, you just kind of plunge right in and look like a nut job to your neighbors. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. We finally have a pool built in our backyard, so I'm looking forward to doing at least not ice baths, but in the winter we're not heating it, so it's going to be around 50 degrees, probably 55 degrees. Not crazy cold, but cold enough to get your heart going. So I'm going to try and make that a habit in the morning times. We'll see how that goes. But so for me, something I've been geeking out about. So a while ago, Caleb I think he convinced you too, David, to get a Whoop fitness tracker. He had been having one for a long time. When the new ones came out, I decided to get one. I got one for my wife as well. And we've liked them, but it hasn't been my favorite thing in the world just because I like, if I'm wearing something on my wrist, to be able to do something with it, not just have a band there that I have to pull up my phone to see the metrics on. And it was missing some of the things I wanted. So anyways, I stopped using the Whoop for a little while and I got a Garmin smartwatch, which I hadn't had a smartwatch for a long time, but I love this thing. And at first I wasn't sure about using it because I was like, I don't want something else to make me distracted throughout the day and to have something on my wrist with everything. But I've actually found it's helped me limit distractions because I've turned off all the notifications for all my apps. So it's not being dinged all the time with notifications. And I figured out a huge reason why I'd pull out my phone and look at it every like 10 minutes, every 15 minutes was to check the time. But now that I can just look at the time on my wrist, I'm not pulling out my phone near as much. And so I'm not seeing all those different notifications that would pop up just by checking my phone. So I've loved this thing. These things have way more features than I'm capable of using, but I'm looking forward to experimenting with some of them in the near future and taking on mountain bike rides and doing everything else it can do and tracking and stuff like that. But it has been really, really cool last week to kind of play around with this. And I don't have my Whoop on anymore. I'll probably still use it a little bit, but I've liked this a lot. So do you guys wear a smartwatch at all? I know you wear normal watches, David, right? You haven't had a smartwatch, have you?
Dude, I'm moving backwards. So I used to have an Apple Watch, and that thing you have to charge like once every day. Like you have to charge it every day or it dies.
30-day battery life.
Okay.
That's one of the things I love about these things.
Wow.
The Whoop, it was like once a week or once every 4 or 5 days.
It's like 3 or 4 days, depending. Yeah, it's roughly 3 to 4 days for me, at least for mine.
And then I had an automatic watch which uses kinetic movement to charge, and so like as long as I wore that, it was fine. But there'd be 2 days where I forget to wear it, and then I have to reset the watch, this and that. And so now I'm like totally like I'm trying to extend. So this I haven't changed the battery in 6 years, and it's a Casio, and it still keeps the exact time. Like literally, I set the time 6 years ago, and it's exactly the same as my phone time. It's just like whoever invents a phone that does not need to be charged for like 2 years, like that's the phone I'm going to get. I'm trying to find less things to charge or like less things that I need to think around with to get it working. I hate it.
We just need that Tesla invention where he electromagnified the air so things could turn on in the room without any cords or anything. Just the whole room's electrified.
That'd be perfect. Do you want to knock out a couple of questions, and then the last thing that I can do is the finale, like let Raiken know how many products he's supported by buying from us.
Wait, did you look it up while we're doing this?
I've looked it up for a couple of my accounts. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, let's tackle a few questions real fast. So someone asks, when starting, how do you find mentors in your area? We don't have many book selling networking events here in St. Louis. Do you guys have thoughts on that?
I would say just building connections with people on Instagram and whatnot. Instagram's been really big for me lately. I've been actually spending a lot more time just DMing people, having real conversations. I know you want to know in your area, but I don't know if you need to have like physically, you don't have to have physical encounters with people. Like you could just do it all through Zoom calls and get just as much value. Do you guys know any, like, I don't really have any ideas for local.
Yeah, one thing you can do. So if you're part of the Book Flipper Facebook community, there's like 26,000 members, I think, in there now. I bet if you search St. Louis in there's going to be posts of people talking about St. Louis, being in St. Louis. Or if you even just post and say, hey, I'm looking to connect with booksellers near the St. Louis area, who's up for, I guarantee you're going to get responses probably within a few minutes of people that are in your area that want to meet up or come there every once in a while, or at least some type of connection with the area. So maybe try that. You'll probably get some hits there. But also, you can find some great relationships, networking, just like Raiken said, over Instagram or other things like that. I don't live in the same place as a lot of people I network with, but I'm still able to network them because of the magic of social media. So, yeah, I'd recommend that too. Do you have any thoughts, David? Or
yeah, I mean, again, this is not necessarily relevant to someone geographically close to you, but it may work out. But I know that there's an event next month in Las Vegas where a bunch of booksellers are going to come. So I think it's called Scout IQ Summit. And so that might be a great opportunity to come and meet people in real life, and then exchange numbers, contact information, stay in touch, and keep each other accountable.
Yeah, didn't I hear something through the grapevine? There's like half the tickets have been sold and there's only 25 left or something, price going up. I don't know.
Yeah,
probably less than that now.
There's some dude who's coming. He has crazy sunglasses. He's going to talk about like making money from eBay on Amazon. Anyway, it should be good.
It'll be good. Someone says, you are the man, Raiken. You're the reason I got into book reselling. That's awesome. Avery posted a comment or two that's up here a little while ago, but just how impressive it was that you're able to grow a business to 30K plus a month with healthy margins. You hear a lot of people boast big numbers like 30,000 a month, and then you kind of figure out after talking to them, they have zero margins or they're somehow negative, even with all the purchases they've done. So keeping a healthy margin, like you said, knowing your numbers is key. And so that's awesome. You've been able to do that. I think those are pretty much the main questions we had there. So any closing thoughts from you guys besides come to the Scout IQ Summit at scoutiq.co/summit?
Steve, do you have any parting thoughts for us?
I would say, honestly, if you want to, the big mistake I've made, I want to get across to everybody is if you want to grow your sales, grow your network. Really, you don't know what you don't know. And even if you're a new seller and you feel like you don't have anything you can offer, there's always something you can offer of value. There's always something. And a lot of people, even just having an open ear or just, maybe you could put together a little local meetup in your group, right? I do a little Connecticut thrifting meetup. It's free. I don't charge anything for it, but I've built some great connections. So, just reach out, like people's posts, share their posts, say, hey, I'm just getting started, but I really found value in this video. I shared it on my story. And then maybe a couple weeks later, leave some fire emojis in their comments. And then maybe a week later, hey, I got a question. Like, don't come out of the gates just trying to take, really give value, offer value by you sharing my post or sharing anyone else's post or saying, hey, Matthew, I'm coming to the event. I also shared it in my group. I only have 20 people in there, but my friend John's coming too. Like, that's value. Like, you're going to have so much more respect for someone just for doing something, a little something. So the key to building your network is just trying to find ways to add value and look long-term. Don't just try to take from everyone. Try to just help and add value. And I don't know. That's the big thing on my mind lately. So it's resonating.
Steve, have you heard of Alex Hormozy?
Oh yeah, man. I love Alex Hormozy. He's everywhere, man. He's like the Andrew Tate of entrepreneurship, except he's not canceled.
he just posted something on Instagram, like I think a few days ago, talking about that concept of like giving in a networking relationship. And he talked about how like one of the first conferences or something he went to, he offered to pretty much everyone that he met, like that he would proof their sales copy and pretty much say like, hey, I'm kind of new to this. I don't know a lot of things, but I know how to sell. And so if you want, give me your pitch and I'll revise it. I'll add my thoughts. And it was just something totally free that he was offering. And he was just talking about the power of is it reciprocity, where pretty much you give and give and give, and eventually you get.
Yeah. Speaking of that, one thing I did, I don't know if Matthew and Caleb know about this, but I started a Facebook group recently, and I keep getting tons of questions about Scout IQ and all this stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just create a free Scout IQ course? So I did. I just created a whole course about it and gave it to my whole audience for free. And
That's awesome.
you know, you do things like that without asking, because everyone nowadays is trying to sell you and make money off you and different things. But if you could really add value, I mean, I could go on forever about it, but yeah, no, I agree with you guys for sure.
Well, I hope you've peppered that entire thing with your affiliate links, so everyone that hears about us from you goes through your affiliate links.
I put David's in there.
David's in there, yeah. No, that group's amazing. What's the best way for people to connect with you, Steve, or to follow you? Is it Instagram, YouTube, the Facebook group? What do you recommend?
Outside of MySpace, I would say Instagram. No, yeah, Instagram's the way to go. Send me a DM over there. I check them all, and I have someone actually on my team now helping with the DMs because there's just so many coming in. So we organize them and we get back to everybody. So that's the best way if you have any questions.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Steve. Thanks for taking your time. Thanks everyone that's been on here for episode 22. This will be live probably later on today.
I have to share how many orders that Steve's placed.
Oh, yeah. Do that.
Drum roll, please. I only have the last 90 days of data, so Steve might have placed a lot more, but I could find 0 orders from
what?
Yeah, I can find it.
If you give me your store, I'll run a tactical arbitrage, because that's one of my techniques I'll be sharing about at the event. But I could run your whole store in minutes, and that's going to be my goal by the next week, to buy something off of David.
Let's do it.
Especially after all that build up.
I was hoping to look cool, and you made me look
thinking like 100 items, 200 items. Nice. All right. Well, thanks everyone. This will be up on all the different podcasting platforms later today as well, for those of you that like to listen to it. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again, Steve. Thanks, David.
Appreciate it, guys.
Nice.